Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to the Center on the Future of War Spring Speaker Series. My name is Daniel Rothenberg. I'm co-director of the center. Many of you are familiar with the work of the center. For those who aren't, we are a partnership between Arizona State University and a think tank in DC called New America. We work on educational programming. We run an MA in global security and teach classes and engage in a variety of online and in-person courses, and we do research on multiple subjects, including a lot of field research in places like Syria, and on issues like proxy war and the use of drones, moral injury, and other issues. And we also have an outreach component where we do events like this event, and we do an annual conference called the Future Security Forum. It will be this September 13th in Washington, D.C., as well as online. And we're thrilled to welcome a really interesting two speakers. We have Katie Richardson and Arifa Naibi. The title, as you can see, is the Afghan Female Tactical Platoon, First-Person Accounts of Assisting in the Evacuation and Resettlement of Key U.S. Allies. So Katie Richardson is a native of Tempe, Arizona, and she is a graduate of Arizona State University, where she studied on ROTC scholarship and graduated with a degree in political science and psychology. Our center is located in the School of Politics and Global Studies, so we know Katie from her work with us at SPGS. After commissioning, she was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, where she held various leadership positions before being selected to become part of the Cultural Support Team program. She deployed to CENTCOM, Central Command, and supported Army Special Operations units on direct action raids. She was part of a cohort that worked to evacuate Female Tactical Platoon, or FTP, members during the fall of Kabul. She's currently an officer in the U.S. Army Reserve and works for a nonprofit that helps to resettle all the Female Tactical Platoon members and their families. We're also joined by Arifa Naibi, who was born and raised in the province of Ghazni, Afghanistan. After finishing secondary school, she attended university for a semester before joining the Afghan National Army, the ANA. In 2016, she was selected to attend a year-long ANA Officer Academy that was operated by the British Army. Following officer training, she was selected by members of U.S. Special Operations Command to join and train to become part of the Afghan Female Tactical Platoon, where she accompanied U.S. Special Operations Forces in direct action combat missions against the Taliban. She served in the FTP until 2021, whereupon she was evacuated to the United States, and she currently lives in Tempe, Arizona, where she is studying. So thank you, Katie and Rifa, for joining us. I will move aside, and we very much look forward to your presentation. And everybody here is with us. We'll have a Q&A period after the presentation, and the way to participate is to type your questions into the Q&A box in Zoom, and then I'll play the role of moderating those questions. And please feel free to ask, any questions you may have. So thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Dr. Rothenberg. Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Richardson, and like Dr. Rothenberg stated, I'm currently in the U.S. Army Reserve, but as a full-time person, I work for the PenFed Foundation, which is a veteran-aligned organization that when the fall of Kabul happened, we took in the evacuated FTPs and started the resettlement program, and have been laying the foundation for them to resettle successfully in the United States. It's one of my greatest privileges was working with them in Afghanistan, but I would say it gets it better that I got to help them in their evacuation and their resettlement. So it's an absolute privilege to be here this evening. And I'll let Arifa say a little something about herself too.
Hello, everybody. My name is Arifa Naibi. I'm from Ghazni, Afghanistan, and I'm a part of Female Tactical Platoon.
Next slide, Heather. So we'll start off explaining a little bit about the cultural support team and what the background was, because this is really what initiated the Female Tactical Platoon. So the cultural support team program was founded in 2010 with approximately 35 women, and this was actually 3 years prior to when the ban on women in combat actually ended in 2013. So the mission set of the CST program was for women to go out with special operations units, male units, and search and question women and children on a given mission. This was because at the time, culturally, women or men could not touch or question or talk to any of the women on a target. And that was really a danger to the coalition forces, as well as information loss. Just to have women on target, they were a source of information of what was going on in the area and regionally and in their neighborhood that wasn't being, taken because men could not do so and they couldn't interact. So from 2010 to 2021, when the CST program ceased, there was approximately 100 women that were part of the program. And really what was important from the CST program was that it was a proven scope of work that hadn't been a concept before. And because it was so successful, it was deemed necessary to integrate Afghan women soldiers into this concept going forward. So next slide, Heather. This is what sprung the female tactical platoon in 2011. So a year later, we had 12 women that volunteered for this highly specialized unit. They all came from either the ANA or the ANP, so the Afghan National Army or the Afghan National Police. That's where they were recruited out of to join the female tactical platoon. And over the 10 years that the program was in inception, about 60 FTPs were part of the unit. I'll just I'll point out in the photo you see in front of you, that's my sister there, Arifa, looking right at you through your computer screen. Go ahead with the next slide, Heather. Okay, so the female tactical platoon was, like I said, around for 10 years, and it was really Afghanistan's only female special operations unit. There were 60 women that joined throughout the various lifespan of the unit, and they, oh, sorry, heard some background noise. So they had to go through a very specialized pipeline. And this photo is actually one of my favorites in the history of the FTP, because I really think it shows the counterculture of what the unit was. You have this woman who's gone through this rigorous pipeline and given her best and graduated the FTP pipeline and is so proud of her certificate in front of all of her male compatriots that it just really stands out in my mind. So from here, I really want Arifa to explain why she joined the female tactical platoon, how she heard about it, and what her experience was in joining the FTP.
The first when I joined the FTP to the army, I wanted to serve my country and help the people of Afghanistan, and it was a great opportunity for a woman. And the CST, and the first when I heard about how to become an FTP, the CST and FTP had come to me while I was in officer training, and told us about the program of the the FTP group, and I thought it would be a great thing. I want to be a great thing, and I will to be very proud to serve my country and help the American soldier.
Thank you. Next slide, Heather. So the female tactical platoon was very counterculture to the Afghan way of life. Culturally, it was really against the rules for women to join the military, and especially so to serve alongside male soldiers and in a highly specialized unit like the FTP. The recruiting program existed, so CSTs and FTPs would go to basic training and around Afghanistan to recruit highly capable and highly motivated women into this program. So you'll see here in your bottom right, this was actually the FTP recruiting poster that was utilized. A copy of it hung in the Afghan Ministry of Defense building. And it is really one of the cornerstones at the nonprofit that we use to give people a piece of history of the female tactical platoon. One thing that I'll note too that was very specific about joining the FTP, besides the high intensity of the rigorous physical standards that they had to obtain and maintain throughout their time in the platoon. But because of the specialization of this unit, they really had to keep their presence in the unit pretty obscured from family and friends. Their direct family would know that they served in this unit, and actually the first male in their family, usually their father, had to give permission for them to serve in this specialized unit. So it was a really unique dynamic, and there were definitely struggles in the recruiting of this because there were so many barriers that these women had to break down. But really what we got was the best of the best when it came to Afghan women, Afghan soldiers, to serve their country. And I'll let Arifa talk about really what it took to be an FTP and what all she accomplished by doing so.
First, I enlisted in the army, and then I was selected for 1 year of officer training by British. I volunteered to become an FTP, and after training by U.S. Special Force, I was assigned to a team. We were required to be physically fit and carry heavy heavy things and know how to fire and take care of our weapons. And I also had to get the permission of my dad to join the FTPs.
And I will say one last note on this is one of the secondary functions of the CST actually was to help train up. Once the FTPs were selected to be in the unit, the training was nonstop. Once they got to the training base, there was always a rotating training facilitated through for the FTPs, whether that was English training, weapons training, working out on a daily basis, fast roping. We ensured that they always maintained the standard when they were to deploy and support these units, that they were maintaining a very high standard of what was expected of them on a mission. Next slide, Heather. So on those missions, kind of like I alluded to, well, the primary concern was ensuring that everyone on the mission was safe, and that really was in terms of the CSTs and the FTPs, we were concerned about the females and the children. A lot of chaos would ensue, and it was our job to maintain that the number of women and children, and ensure that they didn't get in the way of the male soldiers doing their jobs. We would question them as well, and really the information we collected was to just really ensure the safety of the coalition forces, and we did that in a very unique dynamic. The CSTs didn't have a requirement of a language to go when we deployed, and the FTPs primarily spoke Dari. Most of the mission sets we went on, the language was Pashto. So the FTPs took it upon themselves to become dual language and learn Pashto for the safety of their CST partners and for themselves. So I'd say it was a very unique dynamic. I always felt safer going out with an FTP because they understood the language, they understood the culture, and really you just had a sister next to you, double the woman power on a mission when you were being faced with chaos on a target with a lot of women and children that you had to deal with. We'll go ahead into the next slide. So this is kind of the start of the evacuation, and one thing that we haven't discussed yet is the very unique characteristic of the FTP. The majority of them are Hazara, which is a persecuted tribe by the Taliban. So they're not only mostly Hazara, they were women, and they served alongside male soldiers in a special operations unit. So when the withdrawal announcement was given in April of 2021, most of the CSTs knew what that meant. It meant that all of these women that had served for their country were going to be in grave danger. And we took it upon ourselves and initiated all the SIVs, so special immigrant visa packets that we could for the FTPs that we were still in contact with. Unfortunately, we would come to find out that FTPs were not eligible for SIVs because they were not directly paid by United States. Ultimately, we would have to apply for humanitarian parolee visas for them. And we'll get into that later when we start talking about their resettlement and their path to citizenship. But when it came time for the evacuation in August of 2021, it was a small group of CSTs that understood the mission before us. And it was 3 weeks of working nonstop around the clock through messaging apps and various trackers and location settings of our FTPs to ensure their safety into Hamid Karzai International Airport. Many of them spent several days, if not a week or two outside the airport, waiting for our signal on the American end to approach the gates of the airport. Many were around the Abbey Gate when the bomb went off that killed 13 American service members. So in the absence of order, we really took it upon ourselves to see that our sisters and their families were evacuated to safety, and we did everything that we could to ensure that. And I'll let Arifa talk about what the feeling was like, and I know it is emotional, what it was like to hear that the Taliban had made it to Kabul, and what her journey was from Camp Scorpion, where she was at when she was based out of training camp, and how she made it to the airport and ultimately to safety.
In August 15, when Kabul fall, and the fall of Kabul in August 15, I was at Camp Scorpion, and we were taking rocket for almost 1 week. Everyone was in shock, and I wondered how it happened so fast. And it was very sad, and I don't know how to express my sad feelings. And the news of the fall of Kabul was so painful for me that I thought I lost a dearest person in my life. It was painful.
Can you explain like what your journey was through once you got to Kabul, what it was like to make it to the airport through the checkpoints, and what you had to do to stay safe?
After August 15, in August 15, the fall of Kabul on that day, and the KK commander, he told all the FTPs to go for like you can take for 2 weeks off, and everybody said it's not the right time to go for 2 weeks off, because one day before we talk about how to prepare for mission. And he said we will let you know after 2 weeks, because right now the situation is not normal for you guys to stay here. Just after 2 weeks the situation will get normal. And we went to, everybody understand this is we think this is our last time in here. And we packed, and I went in hiding in Kabul in my sister's house for from August the 15th to August the 18th until we get to the airport. In August 18, early in the morning, we 2 other FTP and we took a taxi, and we went to the airport. It was very sad, and I left all of my belongings behind, and except my cell phone and my passport.
Thank you, Arifa. Heather, if you could hit the next slide, please. So like Arifa said, we instructed all the FTPs to leave all their belongings behind. What they needed to survive for a few days outside the airport until we could get them inside was what we told them. We told them to not take anything that affiliated them to the Afghan military. We essentially told them to burn all of their documents besides their taskeras, and their passports. And we told them to delete our numbers out of their phones, because if they were caught at a Taliban checkpoint with an American number, it could have been a very bad ending for them. So they 42 families eventually made it inside HKIA. That's about 150 people when we add up. So 42 FTPs plus their family members, just around 150 people that made it inside the gate safely. And this was through really a grassroots group of people that, through the vast network of military friends and coworkers that the CSTs had made throughout their years in the military, that we were able to get our people in safely, identify them and get them in safely, and get them on a plane out of Afghanistan. So once they left Afghanistan, they were airlifted to various bases outside of the United States for further vetting and medical screenings. And from there, they would go to US camps, US military camps stateside for, again, further vetting, further medical screening, vaccines. If they had been injured during the evacuation, they were seen and cared for. And then really at the refugee camps in the United States is when the resettlement agencies came in and started working one-on-one with each refugee to assign them a new place to live and restart their lives. Arifa was flown to Doha, and then to Ramstein, Germany, and then ultimately to Fort Pickett, Virginia for almost a month. And I'll have her explain what her experience was like leaving Afghanistan, and ultimately her experience in Fort Pickett before being resettled in Arizona.
I was after when I flew from Ramstein, Germany to Washington DC. Then we stayed in Washington DC for 1 day, a short time, and then we moved to Virginia, Fort Pickett, Virginia. I stayed there for 25 days, and I was in a tent with 40 people. And there were over 7,000 people in Fort Pickett camp. I helped the American soldier just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit with translate and with how to help the refugee, because my English was a little bit good, and they say, yes, you can help us. And for 25 days, I was at Fort Pickett. Yes, I helped them as much as I could. And they said, you helped us a lot, and it was good.
I will say Arifa's natural leadership and her years of training in the Afghan military really showed. I visited her in Fort Pickett. And she's being very shy about this, but she was running her entire barracks and helping all the American service members that were in charge of vetting all these Afghan refugees. She got them in order real quick, and it was a very organized process.
Thank you, sister.
Of course. We'll go to the next slide, Heather. And this is really what has been kind of my greatest life's work so far is the resettlement of these FTPs. So upon release from these refugee camps in the United States, the FTPs were moved from the camps to either long-term housing, an apartment, a condo. Some of them had to stay in extended stay hotels just because of the housing situation at that time didn't allow for affordable housing. But right now we all have them in their long-term housing. They all have jobs and have attended English school. If they have children, their children are in school. Their spouses are being taken care of. They're sending them to trade schools, hoping that any type of intensive English that they're going through right now sets them up for better paying jobs, or if they want to attend university or another type of education, they can do so. I want to give a mention to our Sisters of Service partnership. So PenFed Foundation stood up the Afghan Refugee Rescue and Resettlement Program under their 501(c) and is managing from a monetary standpoint the resettlement of the FTPs and their families. Sisters of Service, however, is an all-volunteer organization led by 2 former CSTs, and they work to assemble a volunteer network of about 50 people, some former CSTs, some are veterans, some are still serving, some are just people with really great hearts. And the idea is that each FTP was given one mentor for hands-on help throughout their refugee experience, because really after 90 days, the resettlement agencies were hands-off. They got 90 days of assistance, got set up into housing, got 3 months of rent, and then after that, they were left to figure it out themselves. So Sisters of Service really stepped up with the monetary support of PenFed Foundation to help with continuous financial and personal help. One thing I'll point out here is the Sisters of Service network and PenFed Foundation is really focused on the holistic refugee experience. These women, the FTPs, and even some of their spouses who served in the Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police or law enforcement, you know, they're not only refugees and having to restart their lives from nothing, but most of them are decorated combat veterans. So having that compounded experience has, I mean, there is a lot of resources that they need in order to be successful and thrive with their new lives. This is one of my favorite photos in the top right. This is Arifa. So she came out about 2 days after she got out of Fort Pickett. She flew to Arizona and then flew back to DC, where I took her to see the White House for the first time. And this so happened right in front, there was a gentleman with an Afghan flag. I thought that was very powerful. So I will talk about the current biggest hurdle that we have with the FTPs is not money, it's not resources, it's their path to citizenship. And ultimately at the PenFed Foundation, we're focused on financial independence and path to citizenship. Because they came on humanitarian parolee visas, they had to apply for asylum. And we did that as a cohort through a network of pro bono law firms. And it has been an amazing experience and they've done great things. But unfortunately, what the humanitarian parolee visa doesn't do is set a clear path of citizenship for these women and their families. We're seeking the passage of the Afghan Adjustment Act and supporting it. And the FTPs are called out as a specific cohort within this bill. And the passage would help ensure a clear path to citizenship. And they would also then qualify for special immigrant visas, which would come with added benefits to their refugee experience, and one of those being eventual reunification of their families. So with a path to citizenship, these women can get green cards, they can apply for then citizenship, and with that, they can reunify with their families eventually. Some of these women didn't come with any family, some came with some, and it's been one of the struggles, I think, of the cohort for those that had to come by themselves, really, with absolutely nothing, that this really would matter. The Afghan Adjustment Act would matter very much so. And Arifa's had a great experience, I think, in Arizona. She lived with my parents for about a year in Tempe, Arizona, and is herself a proud Sun Devil now. So I'll let her explain how her resettlement journey has gone.
Yeah. First, when I moved to Arizona, and I found a great parents in here, a very nice family, and then I lived with them for almost three months. And then after Christmas, I went to I took a English class in Global Lunch, and I went to Global Lunch for almost 5 months, January, April, March, for 5 months, and it was hard, very challenging, but I learned a lot. I made lots of new friends. I found new friends. And also I learned a lot, and I can say I improved my English more than like when I was in Afghanistan, or the first I moved from Afghanistan to the United States. And then I work hard at finding a job after almost, I don't know how long, but after a long time. I tried, and we work very hard to find a job, and finding a job is very hard. If you not want like a good job, the job you want, you have to have a skill, especially language is very important. And I certainly work at ASU, and I appreciate their support, and they helped me a lot to, like, they give me a job, and now I work in ASU athletic department, and I'm happy with that job. Yeah. And yes, that's it.
Thank you, sister. All right, we'll go to the second to last slide, Heather. And this is just really a snapshot of where our ladies and their families are now. They're spread to the four winds of the United States. We unfortunately still have one that's in a processing camp in the UAE. And we're working every day to get her to the United States. And with her sister, actually, it was a set of sisters that were FTPs. Her sister is in Pennsylvania, and we're trying to get the last one of our FTPs in the United States. So as you can see, they've acclimated well to living in the United States. We had a reunion back in October. We're set for another one here in the end of April. There's been a lot of babies, a lot of new Afghan babies that have been born since getting in the United States. And the interest in their new lives varies. I mean, we have ones that want to own their own businesses. We have ones that want to be nurses and doctors. We have spouses that have gone through the commercial driving license courses, you know, and some are just really enjoying the true freedom here in Afghanistan or in America versus what would have happened to them in Afghanistan. And I know all of them are definitely concerned for the future of Afghanistan, and they all stay tuned into what's happening. And I know their heart aches for what is happening in Afghanistan. And I think the strongest thing that this group offers is the power in their story and their message, and the advocacy that they bring to their story. And I think a lot of them get fulfillment out of advocating for Afghan women, the FTPs, and Afghanistan. Arifa, do you have anything else to add before we close up?
If I granted the asylum and then citizenship, it would be mean like I have a future in United States. I can plan my future, and maybe if I can plan for my future, not maybe, for sure, I will help my family, my brother and sister, to being in United States and to have a good life.
Thank you, sister. And then the last slide, Heather. We'll do questions. I know Dr. Rothenberg will open it up, but I just wanted to put my email. This is for the PenFed Foundation. If you have any other questions that you think of afterwards, this is my email at the nonprofit. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie and Arifa. That was really excellent presentation, and opens up a world that I think a lot of Americans are unfamiliar with, the Afghan female tactical platoon. Fortunately, we have a lot of questions already, which is nice. And I just want to encourage everybody out there in the audience to please type your questions into the question box of Zoom. Our first question here is from Pam Delargy. And I just, for those who don't know Pam has been instrumental to the resettling of quite a large number of Afghans fleeing the country who've been able to, many of them, study at ASU. And she's really been a hero for the refugee community here in Arizona and all over. Her question is, and she's a colleague, a professor in the School of Political Studies. Great to hear Arifa share the goals and experiences of the FTPs, and kudos to Katie and all those who helped to evacuate the FTP members. Question: was the U.S. able to help all FTPs and their families get to the U.S. or to other safe places? I know you mentioned, sorry, in the presentation that 42 FTPs had been resettled. That leaves a number who weren't. But maybe you could not just give us the number, But to follow up, to give some depth to the answer, where are these individuals and what's their status? And can you just fill in for us the situation that they're in?
Yep, absolutely. So right now, as it stands, we have about 15 FTPs that, for various reasons, didn't make it to the airport during the evacuation window. And some of them have taken it upon themselves to get out of Afghanistan, have used resources at their disposal to flee the Taliban, or and I think Arifa would agree. I think we know of FTPs that are just in hiding in Afghanistan. And a lot of them were younger FTPs that had just gone through the pipeline and weren't as tied in with the network when the fall of Kabul happened and the evacuation efforts started. I do know that there are people within the network that help get the initial 42 out that are tracking these FTPs and their families and working to get them evacuated. Arifa, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I'm okay. Yeah.
A question from Chris Davis, who completed a PhD in School of Post-Global Studies and is a veteran. How integrated was this unit in terms of Pashtun, Hazara, Tajik, etc.? You did mention, again, this is a question that came in before your presentation was over, that it was majority Hazara. So maybe you could flesh out that question as to, one, how integrated were the FTPs, but also what was the impact? What did it mean to have Hazara FTPs operating in environments that were culturally distinct?
Arifa, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, yes, I get it. Because they are Hazara people, they are most like they have open mind. Yes, and their parents and the family, they allowed them to like join the army and like serve like in the army. But the other family like Pashtun and well, we have the FTP from the Tajik, and they are also they are different people. And but not Pashtun. The Pashtun people, I don't know what is on their mind and what the idea they have, but we don't. Unfortunately, we had just a new one, Pashtun FTPs, and she just she just finished like the FTP training, but she's in Afghanistan. I'm not connected with her, and I hope she's okay.
And I'll add to that, Arifa, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe most of your male soldiers that you worked with were Pashtun.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that also created a little bit of cultural difference and different dynamic to work through. Not only were they the only woman in their unit, in an all-male special operations unit, but they came from a different culture. So working through that and still having the males enable these women do their jobs on a mission and see them as an asset, not a liability, definitely came into play.
Question from Michael Sullivan. Can those FTP who have come to the U.S. and been granted asylum, can they join the U.S. military? And to the degree you know this, and to what degree do you think that this is a community that might be interested in that form of service?
So I will talk about the flow into the military. So they definitely can once they get their green cards. So once they're granted asylum, I believe they have to have, once they have asylum for 1 or 2 years, they apply for their green card, get their green card, then they can enlist into the military. They have to be a citizen to be an officer. But I'll let Arifa talk about the interest. I know she shared some interest, but I know she knows that there are quite a few FTPs interested in carrying on their military service with the United States.
Yes, I'm very interested to join the U.S. Army, but unfortunately we don't have the asylum yet, and also the green card, it takes time. Maybe we get our green card. Yes, of course. I think most of the FTP they want to join the U.S. Army, but for me, I will be old for that, because I'm 28 years old now. I'm close to retire, maybe
No, you're not.
35 or 34 years old.
You'll get there.
A question from Madi. Madi, how many of Arifa's colleagues, by this I think she means, those who are in the FTP, are here in Arizona?
Arifa, you want to take that?
Yes. Three of the other FTPs, yeah. One of them live in Phoenix, and two other FTP, we live together, and we lived in duplex, and one of them live with her brother, and the other one is we are roommate. We live together in Tempe.
A question here, to what degree have those FTP who've resettled here in the US, have they received support through the various US refugee programs? And are there particular, programs or forms of innovation to help those refugees find employment?
Absolutely. So I will say that the IRC, so when they left the military camps in the United States, each of them got assigned to different refugee organizations. The IRC was one of the biggest ones, especially in Arizona. And they do have programs, and actually each state has their own type of infrastructure for refugees to utilize different programs. And I don't know one specifically, and I know Arifa has really benefited from the connection with ASU and the refugees that came from Afghanistan directly into the ASU Global Launch Program. But Sisters of Service, our mentor network, has really done a great job in that one-for-one mentorship, hands-on, where they know where their refugee is at, and they utilize the local infrastructure for refugees to help the refugee and help the FTP kind of thrive in her new environment. So the infrastructure is definitely there. I'd say it's what you can seek out. It's not coming to them. It's what that the mentor can help them find, or that they themselves find.
Excuse me, I was muted. One attendee has asked a question whether this is being recorded and it can be accessed like all of our presentations on our YouTube site and through our website. You can always email questions if you have trouble accessing that. I'm just mentioning that because somebody said they came late and were very interested and wanted to know. A question here from Vishnu Raghavan. Have there been efforts by American hosts and contacts here to learn Dari or to facilitate cultural exchanges between the American communities and Afghan communities, or between the US and Afghanistan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my mom and dad could probably speak to it better, but I know Arifa is the best Dari teacher that they could probably get. And I'll let her talk about that. But in terms of the cross-cultural, the Sisters of Service network has done a really great job with monthly calls. So they have one call a month that they do cross-cultural awareness. The most recent one was a cooking class. So we had 3 FTPs share and cook on screen some famous Afghan dishes. And then we had one American mentor cook homemade pizza and show the process of that. Other ones they've had have been like financial awareness classes, filing taxes. Because we're focused on the FTPs primarily, we've done women-centric self-defense classes, traveling alone, or just things that make them safer in their communities. But I think Arifa, do you want to add anything to that?
About like could you repeat
have you taught mom and dad some Dari?
Oh yeah, especially dad also wants to learn Dari, but mom she's very smart and she learned a lot. Almost when I talk in Dari and she can understand, and most of the time she texts me in Dari. Dari really? English, yeah, Dari English, and I think it is very good. Just for short time, I repeat just 1 or 2 times, and she just, that's it. I understand, and the next time, and she texts me in Dari, English Dari.
Well, you're a good teacher.
Yes, I'm a good teacher, and the mom is she's very smart.
Maybe you could teach a Dari class at ASU.
Of course, sure, yeah.
A note here from
Yeah.
Pam Delargy. This I didn't know, that the city of Phoenix has just recognized Nowruz as an official holiday, which is relevance to some in the country. Alex Abernathy asked a question. Could you, Katie and Arifa, could you mention again the organizations that are assisting the FTPs with their resettlement? And here's a question: is there a way to possibly volunteer with these organizations? And maybe that would also be helpful to reach out directly to you if you could again give everybody your contact information or email.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a list. We hold a list at the nonprofit of other nonprofits helping in this sphere. So I don't have it off the top of my head. I know IRC is always looking for volunteers, especially with the Ukrainian refugee crisis as well, kind of coupled on top with the Afghan refugee. But if interested in this specific cohort, I always know Sisters of Service is looking for volunteers, because their mentors can't stay on the whole time to see it through with the FTPs. So I know they're always looking for mentors, or even helping larger families or some of the spouses, some of the male spouses, with direct mentorship. So I can definitely, my email is definitely applicable to that for sure.
And so again, for everybody, that's the IRC, which has a large office in Glendale, Phoenix, and also Sisters of Service, correct?
Yes.
A question here from Major General Albert Crawford. What will it take to accelerate the FTP's approved asylum?
Absolutely. Hi, Grandpa. So for the asylum cases, we applied through a pro bono lawyer network that all at once for all 42. Right now, 4 have been approved, but the rest of the 38 have not. They're kind of in this limbo area, and unfortunately this summer in July their work authorizations will expire. So without an approved asylum case, with no work authorization, they're really unable to do anything and progress with their new lives. So really it's the Afghan Adjustment Act which will help solidify their path to citizenship. We're hoping that all of their asylum cases will be approved before that bill has to be voted on, and it could go either way. So we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket for the Afghan Adjustment Act, and that's why we've kind of taken 2 courses of action. We've done the asylum cases and hopefully been able to see that through and get them all approved. And if not, we hope that the Afghan Adjustment Act, just on the basis that this would then open up more benefits for them and the family reunification and a more clear path to citizenship, is why we've gone kind of both courses of action.
A question for you, Arifa. You have quite a few family back in Afghanistan. What is it like? Are you able to easily communicate with those, particularly if they're in Ghazni or in maybe in other parts of the country? And what are you hearing from them about their lives, and what do you sort of see as, their futures?
I cannot communicate. I'm not communicate with my family like regular. After like 5 months or 4 months, sometimes more than that, 6 months, and I can talk with them, with my sister. 3 of my sisters, they live in Kabul, and my parents live in Ghazni. They are, the last time when I talked with them, it was fortunately they got internet access, and I before the New Year I text to my sister-in-law to in New Year, if you can please call me. And 3 weeks before 3 weeks before the New Year, Afghan New Year, and finally she read my text and she called me, and they walk like 3 miles away from home, and it's to get internet access, and they call me, and finally I talk with them, and they don't have a regular life. They're the life they have. Just when I talk with my mom, and she said we are just alive. We don't live our lives, and we just still like our body is moving in here. And it was too hard for me. And when I talk, also I talked with my sister. I didn't talk in New Year with my sister, just text. I text with one of them, and he said, we are in hiding inside. We don't know what to do, but I told them, you don't give up, and never give up, and continue your study at the house and help each other. And I'm trying my best, like not now, in future, like to, if I could do something for you guys, and to help them and bring them in United States or some other safe place like Europe, or doesn't matter where. Just
Were your sisters working or studying before the Taliban took over Kabul, and then what are they doing now in this sort of new reality?
well, my older sister she was a journalist, and she worked with a long time ago. She worked with and which I think, I don't want to say like the wrong word, the visually, I think it's a Germany TV. She worked with them, and then she moved to radio station like called Safir News in Afghanistan. And she was working there, and she worked with for university too. And my other sister, she's 1 year older, younger than me, and she graduated from university, from economic. She just graduated 1 month before the fall of Kabul. And we prepare everything to celebrate her graduation, but unfortunately it doesn't happen. And my other sister, she was in high school. She was but no, everybody is in high, everybody is at home. They don't know what to do, and there's no job. No.
Are any the Taliban and security services, are they at all aware that these are family members of somebody who previously was in the FTP? Do you know? Is that a concern?
I hope if somebody didn't don't into talk with the Taliban, or how do, they will not understand, because they came to our house and to my sister's house in Kabul for 3 times. And they I talked with when I and on that time in the end of 2021, I talked with my sister, and I just got to United States, and I talked with my sister, and I said everything belongs to me, army and the military, just throw away and put on the fire. And my sister said, because you work so hard for all of this and we cannot do that, maybe I will put I will find a safe place for all of those. I said, no, you don't need to do that, and throw away all of those. But yes, they cleaned the house, and they say we don't have any military things from you at the house. But unfortunately, they forgot my hat, the officer with officer mark, and it was in the closet. And 3 times the Taliban came, and thank God they didn't find it. And when the last time I talked with my sister, and she said, we forgot your hat. And when the Taliban, they left the house, and after 2 days, when I opened the closet and I saw your hat, and just it was dangerous for them. And I don't know how to. They don't have a normal life over there, and because of my family and my sister and Afghanistan. And most of the time I don't feel good in here. Everything is new for me. I think like it's not, I never think it was August 15, 2021. I think it was yesterday. And I always think about Afghanistan and how sad I am. I know how, like about the Afghanistan, and after like 20 years, we work so hard. No, I served in military for 5 years, and for the other soldiers, they work so hard and we work so hard, and but nothing, everything just got down in zero. But yes, I just about Afghanistan, I'm very sad about Afghanistan and about my family. If I help my family, maybe I have something to my mind for Afghanistan. Not very big things. If I can, like a small things, a small like help the women of the people of Afghanistan and the country, and maybe someday I feel good.
What would you like, both Arifa and also Katie, we're getting towards the end of our event, and are there any particular messages that you would want the public, those here attending and those who might watch the video, them to know about this experience, about the FTPs, and more generally, about your reflections on this whole journey?
Do you want to go first, Arifa, or do you want me?
You go first.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has caught on, or if I've said it, but I know Arifa and I, we address each other as a sister. Every time we answer the phone, it's hello, sister. I love you, sister.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah. And I think that really encapsulates the relationship and the dynamic that grew, my 6 months in Afghanistan. I went to be one of the only females in an all-male unit, just like she, and I learned more from her than I could have ever imagined about the military, about the mission that I was set to do, about the Afghan culture, and about the strength of women. I distinctly remember walking up a mountain in Afghanistan and really hurting, and looking over at Arifa, and she's powering through. And I think that really speaks to the grit and the strength of their culture and their unit. And these 42 women, although I didn't serve with every single one of them, I know that spirit goes through the entire unit and their culture and their families. And I'll just end with, I never thought I would see Arifa again when I left Afghanistan, and unfortunately, it wasn't under the circumstances that either of us wanted. But it's an honor to get to have her here. It was an honor to evacuate the cohort and see their new lives. And I think it's a great opportunity for America to have these types of people in our country now.
Arifa, any thoughts? We just have a few minutes left.
Could you please repeat your question?
Just what would you like Americans to know about the FTP and just your experience, and how to reflect on, the U.S. policy in Afghanistan at this moment?
Maybe don't forget us. And I just want to say something short, and because Afghanistan needs to help, the people of Afghanistan need help, and I want from U.S. government, please don't forget Afghanistan, and as much as like they can, the government and the world can please help the people of Afghanistan, the country, because they need help. We need help, and the people who is in Afghanistan, they need help. And not something very long. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Katie Richardson. Thank you, Arifa Naibi. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. ASU has a number of student organizations that work with refugees. I just want those in the ASU audience to know about. There's Afghans in Maricopa County. There's a number of tutoring groups, RISE, ARCS. There's some healthcare groups, REACT, and they're all part of Change Makers as a way to find out about these groups. And there's various ways to help the Afghan community here, the ASU Afghan community, as well as the Phoenix and Arizona Afghan community. But thank you everybody for spending some time with us. Wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you at future events.
Thank you.
Thank you.